Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Well, today we're going to talk about the business of the NES and how they saved the gaming industry. They really did. Right after the crash with Atari, for them not keeping a good quality control system when it came to their games and having so many bad games out, it really crashed the market. But it wasn't only that. People blame ET, that crappy game that I bought. But it wasn't only that. At the same time that was happening, if you guys remember, the arcades were doing great business, and it was very hard to compare the experience you would have on Atari to what you were playing in the arcade. So it's a combination of two things. And Nintendo was able to revive the market. Now, I pray you forgive me here, guys. As I've told you, I've been going through a voice issue. I've gotten some news. It doesn't look like it's going to get any better. Um, and and it's just something that I have to deal with. So I can only speak, so many, so many times a day, and my voice is just not going to get better. However, I've been able to play with this cloning software and AI, and it's been able to, um, grab my old voice, if you will, and I'm able to write my essays and then put together information from the internet, and gather resources and read it out for me. So hopefully the transition won't be too bad. First of all, let me say thank you for joining me. Thank you for staying with me through this period. And I really want to say thank you to all of you. Also, if you enjoy these videos, most people that watch these type of videos are not subscribed. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss them. And let's do this trial run. See, tell me how you guys feel about my AI clone voice. And what I'll do is I'll stop the track in the middle, and make some other points so I don't have to speak as much. And I hope you understand, and I hope you enjoy this video because it has some great information, and we'll do some insights here that people really don't talk about. Nintendo doesn't really get the credit today for what they did, and they did it through this accessory, and specifically the marketing that they did. It really is a wonder of business that people don't talk about enough. How Nintendo's R.O.B. revived the home console market. In the early 1980s, the video game industry was on the verge of collapse. Oversaturation, a flood of low-quality games, and a lack of consumer trust had caused a severe crash in the market. It was in this dire situation that Nintendo, a relatively unknown Japanese company at the time, made a bold move that would not only save their business, but also lay the foundation for the home console industry we know today. This pivotal moment in gaming history revolved around the creation and marketing of the Robot Operating Buddy, or R.O.B., a move that helped Nintendo's NES, Nintendo Entertainment System, rise to prominence and reignited the love for home gaming. The crash of 1983. In the early 1980s, the video game industry faced a major crisis. The market was oversaturated with low-quality games, and consumers had lost faith in video games due to the infamous Atari ET debacle and a general sense of disillusionment. Video game retailers were left with unsold inventory, and the entire industry was at risk of disappearing. Nintendo's entry into the US market. At this critical juncture, Nintendo, a Japanese playing card company that had ventured into the video game business, saw an opportunity to revitalize the home console market. The company had previously launched the Famicom family computer in Japan, a successful home gaming system. To bring the Famicom to the United States, they needed to overcome the skepticism of American retailers who had been burned by the market crash. To achieve this, they devised a brilliant plan, and R.O.B. played a crucial role. The R.O.B. strategy. Nintendo decided to market the NES as a toy rather than a video game system. This strategic decision helped them bypass the skepticism that retailers had toward video games. The inclusion of R.O.B., a friendly robot that interacted with the NES, was a central part of this strategy. By marketing the NES as a toy, all right, guys, this is pivotal right here. Them marketing the system as a toy rather than a video game opened up the doors to put it in retail stores. Retail stores wanted nothing to do with video games. And that's why the system, for example, has that, slot that looks like a VCS, a VCR of the time. That's why you have the robot, because they wanted to make it seem like a toy for your TV, right? They knew that once people had this system in their hands, they would play it. They had all the market research from Japan. They knew that people weren't tired of video games in the home. They were tired of crappy video games in the home. But they have to overcome the objections of the people that are going to buy them. How did they do this? If you go back in time, you'll see that they would tell stores that they would put them, they would put the units in, and whatever they didn't sell, they would take back at no cost. So they took all the risk up front, but they knew that once the word got out, this system was going to sell. But it doesn't matter what avenue you are in business, you are going to have to overcome objections, and sometimes you're going to have to sell great things that people don't know they need yet, right? You may have a great product that works, but people are skeptical, so you have to overcome those barriers. And whether it's a system like this, whether it's hardware, software, the marketing here was genius. Something that nobody would dare to try at the time. They did. They were taking all the risk, absolutely all the risk. And because of that, you have the video game market, that you have today. The inclusion of R.O.B, a friendly robot that interacted with the NES, was a central part of this strategy. By marketing the NES as a toy, Nintendo could position it in the toy section of retail stores rather than the struggling video game section. R.O.B was included in the NES Deluxe set, and its inclusion allowed Nintendo to approach toy stores rather than just video game stores for distribution. The robot was a novelty designed to create excitement and intrigue among potential buyers, further differentiating the NES from its video game competitors. This marketing masterstroke convinced retailers to give the NES a chance. The NES's success, the NES a chance. Now, on a personal note, let me tell you this, guys. I was working at a mall, making cookies, saving up for this thing, and let me tell you, when I got R.O.B the robot home, it was such a disappointment. Let me tell you, I thought, man, am I doing this wrong? Is this supposed to suck this bad? And I just never liked it, right? I never liked it. It was just horrible. But once we got a hold of the games, man, was Nintendo right? They were absolutely right. The first time you got your hands on Mario, you were just on another planet. The NES's success and industry transformation. The NES, alongside R.O.B, was a resounding success. It provided a diverse library of high-quality games, including classics like Super Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda, which helped rekindle the love of gaming. Consumers flocked to buy the NES, and the console eventually became the best-selling system of its time. This success was the catalyst for the resurgence of the home console industry. Nintendo's clever marketing strategy and the creation of a platform that prioritized game quality and player experience helped rebuild trust in the industry. As a result, other companies like Sega and Sony, and this is very important, guys, they were marketing quality and trust. And today, everybody talks about lower prices, lower prices, lower prices. But I want you to think about the brands that you buy no matter what. There's brands of coffee, there's cars, there's watches, there's all kinds of things where you're going to pay premium price because you want to, because you want that quality, right? Because the products that you're buying are dependable. At the time, Nintendo was charging premium prices for these things, right? $40 was $45, $50 was a lot of money back then. And if you look at the prices today, video games would be costing anywhere from $80 to $100 if we were charging the same prices. But they could command that at the time, not only because they were the really only game in town, but also you knew that when you were buying a Nintendo product from a Nintendo, you were going to get quality and you were going to get fun, which is, something completely different than what the Atari offered. And even though these games were not on par graphically, for example, with a lot of the arcade games at the time, you had the gameplay, right? You had the quality of the game. They were stable. With all the limitations that the NES had compared to arcades, they still delivered a quality experience. As a result, other companies like Sega and Sony entered the market, leading to the creation of the multi-billion-dollar video game industry we know today. In conclusion, Nintendo's decision to market the NES as a toy and include R.O.B. as a novel selling point was a game changer for the video game industry. It helped revive the home console market, transform the industry, and create a foundation for the thriving market we enjoy today. The Nintendo Entertainment System, alongside its friendly robot companion, R.O.B., will forever be remembered as pioneer in the resurgence of home gaming. How Nintendo's R.O.B. revived. Well, guys, that was some of the foundation, some of the key points. And I also want to mention a couple of things that are often forgotten. A lot of times in the video game industry, when they talk about the Nintendo Genesis battles, the console wars, one thing that is always waived is the monopoly that Nintendo had and how many of the developers would only deal with Nintendo. And the one thing that's always glossed over is a cultural aspect of it, and that has to do with respect, right? A lot of the developers knew that the only reason there was any market whatsoever, that the only reason these companies existed to make millions of dollars was because Nintendo took those risks. So they were always first on the plate. Newer companies as they were being formed, be it Sega, Hudson, NEC, anybody else, were always second to the party, but it really was a house that Nintendo built. So out of that respect, out of those relationships that were built over years, Nintendo would always get first crack, and it was just a cultural thing. Not only that these companies were from Japan, but they respected that the work that Nintendo had done to establish the industry. So when somebody would come in like Sega, their point of view was, look, you're eating off something we built. Don't make demands of us because we established this. So it was really not only a financial battle, a competition between vendors, but also very cultural. And a lot of times that's glossed over, and that was really a huge part of it. Not that Nintendo didn't, have a monopoly and with all the carts and what have you, all the different things that they did, but that was also part of it. Guys, thank you for joining me on this video. Thank you putting up with this voice that I have now. I really do appreciate you guys stopping by. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. That really helps. It motivates me to keep on making videos, even though I sound like a gargoyle. And I'll keep using these internet tools, this AI, in order to produce videos long form anyway. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hey guys, have a great weekend. Take care.